With Gen 9 on Horizon, I figured that an episode focusing on the game mechanic iconic of this generation is relevant for those who are unfamiliar with the topic but still want to get into the VGC metagame. At the time of this video, we are currently in Series 13, which is still in Galar. Dynamax is a game mechanic introduced for the 8th generation. Exclusive to the Galar region, Dynamax is a temporary transformation that lasts for 3 turns. A variation of this transformation, Gigantamax, is a special transformation for certain Pokemon that not only changes appearance but provides a signature move. Only one Pokemon on your team can Dynamax, and Dynamax can be used once per battle, so you need to put some thought into what you will be Dynamaxing. Some Pokemon are unable to Dynamax, but in return get a move that deals double damage to Pokemon under the effects of Dynamax. These Pokemon are the box art legendaries Zacian, Zamazenta, and Eternatus or Eternatus because people get triggered by that. Furthermore, Pokemon in the likeness of these aforementioned Pokemon cannot Dynamax either, so it means Pokemon using the move Transform or the ability Imposter, and Pokemon with the ability Illusion cannot transform into these and Dynamax either. The Dynamax transformation is cancelled if the user switches out. Popular Gigantamax choices include Charizard, Blastoise, Venusaur, and Urshifu. Let's see what Dynamax is capable of. For our first battle, we'll be demonstrating Inteleon's G-Max. The Galar starter's max move has a base power of 160, regardless of the move it is based off of. And if you're wondering why Inteleon when there is Rillaboom and Cinderace, well, it doesn't get as much attention as the other 2 starters, which means my opponents won't see it coming. Let's begin our battle.
Yo, what's up, Daddy?
Made it weird.
Can I supersize this?
Inspired!
Jesus Christ.
No ma'am. Dynamax is commonly used in the beginning of a match to establish control of the battlefield offensively or defensively. That is not to say that it's not used mid-battle, but it's much less common. A popular strategy seen early in the VGC metagame was to make use of the item weakness policy. Popular combinations include, but are not limited to, Dragapult Colossal because of that Steam Worker ability, and Groudon and Zacian because it's just freaking OP for no reason. Let's see one of these popular teams in battle. For our next battle, we'll be using Groudon and Zacian. Our reason for using the 2 today is twofold. One is to demonstrate how an already powerful Pokemon becomes more powerful under the right conditions, which is usually Dynamax Groudon and do the thing. And the second reason is to demonstrate how you can establish an offensive presence early in the battle using Dynamax when the Pokemon is not frail, like Inteleon. And with that, let's begin our battle.
Watch me eat.
So starting off with the advantages, we have the first advantage for Dynamax being immune to flinching. The Dynamax transformation makes the user immune to flinching. Your Pokemon is guaranteed to use their max move unless affected by status, which means unless they're affected by sleep, paralysis, or attract, they are able to use their move with impunity. Next, Dynamax Pokemon are immune to moves that factor weight. This means moves such as Heavy Slam and Grass Knot. If used, the move will fail against a Dynamax Pokemon. Dynamax Pokemon are immune to one-hit KO moves in Destiny Bond, but not Perish Song and moves that deal fractional damage, such as Super Fang. Dynamax Pokemon cannot be forced to switch out by the opponent, so that means moves that switch the target out are known as phasing moves, and this is what we're referring to here. Some examples of these moves are Roar, Dragon Tail, and Whirlwind. However, the Dynamax Mon can still be switched out by their ability if, for example, their ability is Emergency Exit or they're holding the item the eject button. There are more details on how a Dynamax Mon can be switched out, such as Magic Bat's Espeon being forced out by a parting shot, so Dynamax Espeon versus Common Incineroar strats is something you need to watch out for. But again, these are rather obscure and you're less likely to run into such a strat intentionally. Lastly, Dynamax Pokemon are unaffected by certain moves that disable use. These include, but are not limited to, the move Disable, abilities such as Gorilla Tactics, and items such as Choice Band. Usually when these happens, these Pokemon are able to use their moves with total freedom. If it's an ability like Gorilla Tactics, then they are simply able to use their moves once the Dynamax transformation ends, they will simply use whatever move they default to next. Same thing for Choice Band. Now let's look at the disadvantages of Dynamax. So the first one to come to mind is that Dynamax Pokemon are not immune to status. Exceptions to the rule are Pokemon that are otherwise and quite obviously immune to certain status effects, like Fire type being immune to burn, Electric types being immune to paralysis, and so on and so forth. Another example of status immunity are Pokemon whose ability prevents status, such as the ability Sweet Veil, which prevents sleep. Besides that, Dynamax Mons are not immune to volatile status unless the ability says otherwise. Examples of volatile status includes Confusion and Attract. So that means they can still be confused and attracted and paralyzed, which means that they have like an 85% chance of getting out of that, which means they might just wind up wasting turns and forcing you to switch. Is it likely to happen? No, but it will not be a good time if you do encounter it. This is less a disability or disadvantage, but then again, we gotta include something here. Another disadvantage for Dynamax Pokemon is that it is a large target. When your opponent sees you Dynamax, a good assumption is that you're attempting to set a win condition with Dynamax. Pokemon who Dynamax are pretty much drawing a bullseye on themselves, so when your Pokemon Dynamaxes, it'd be in your best interest to have a supportive Pokemon on the field as well, either drawing enemy fire, boosting the Dynamax Mon's damage, or reducing incoming damage. This is especially the case if your Dynamax Pokemon is frail, as your opponent will likely attempt to KO your Dynamax Mon immediately, or reduce its offensive presence by knocking out its supportive allies. Next, Dynamax Pokemon requires team and or item support, and this is a good segue to talk about that other issue that Dynamax Pokemon have. Oftentimes you have to build your team around Dynamax when what you're Dynamaxing, and that can expose vulnerabilities to your strategy if your opponent can accurately predict what Pokemon will be Dynamaxing. Your Dynamax Pokemon will more often than not require team or item support if you want it to do its job. This may require some big brain thinking on your part to ensure your strategy goes off with as little issue as possible. Lastly, Dynamax Pokemon are not immune to moves that reduce PP.
I beg your pardon?
I like to call this grudge bait. So Dynamax Pokemon are vulnerable to moves that reduce PP. Moves such as Spite and abilities such as Pressure will reduce the amount of times you can use your max moves and the base form of those max moves. While Dynamax Pokemon are immune to the move Destiny Bond, they are not immune to the move Grudge, which is a move where if the user is KO'd by the opponent, it reduces the PP of that move to 0. Meaning that the Dynamax Pokemon cannot use the corresponding max move nor its base version of the Dynamax Pokemon scored the KO. That being said, a good way to make use of Dynamax is to have a team that have 2 Dynamax or Gigantamax picks and provide great team support to the Dynamax Mon, or have a strategy that puts the Dynamax in an offensive supporting role, high damage but inconsequential if defeated. And lastly, let's look over a neutral thing. I didn't really know where to put it because it's not necessarily a positive or a negative, so I'm just going to say it's neutral. Dynamax Pokemon cannot have their ability switched while they're transformed. This means abilities such as Mummy and moves such as Skill Swap will fail when it's targeting a Dynamax Mon. The exception to this rule is moves or abilities that suppress abilities, such as the ability Neutralizing Gas, and moves that replace the target's ability, such as Worry Seed. I I think this is more of a neutral feature, as a strategy that switches abilities around should be done before transforming, and you and your opponent must be savvy about such a thing, so the chance of encountering or using such a strat is rather low. But we gotta include it, because if we're talking about Dynamax, we gotta talk about all the things about Dynamax. So let's look at what we'll be using next. For our third battle, we will be revisiting Gigantamax. This means that my Dynamax Pokemon will have a special move exclusive to them and their transformation. This move is G-Max Foam Burst, a powerful attack that reduces the speed stat of opponents hit by 2. As my Gigantamax Pokemon isn't the fastest, reducing the opponent's speed allows this Pokemon to build into a threatening presence over time. I made this Pokemon more of an offensive support, meaning its goal is to deal respectable damage, but clearly it's not the most threatening thing out there, and as you'll see in the coming battle, it is not the most threatening thing out there. I brought it to the battle, and if it were KO'd, it would prove consequential in the long run. For our last battle, we'll be staying in Gigantamax, but we're doubling down on support. This Pokemon was not built towards offense, as I prefer the defensive benefits it brings. Once it does its job, anything else it does is considered extra to me. And without further ado, let's begin.
Bitch, I can't see!
Inspired!
Lordy!
Big, meaty claws!
Bitch, I can't swim!
So big.
So shocking!
Daddy, it's so tight.
Bitch, I can't see!
I didn't know they stacked shit that high.
Hurricane Katrina!
Let's see how we can counter Dynamax. One of the first solutions that we can use to deal with or counter Dynamax is by statusing it. More often than not, when you see a Dynamax mon, your first solution, and really your best solution, is to put it to sleep.
Game over. Night.
If a Dynamax mon is put to sleep, it is guaranteed to be unable to act for 1 to 3 turns, reducing its offensive presence, which is why Pokemon that uses the moves Sleep Powder and Spore are prominent in competitive Pokemon. If an appropriate physical attacker is burned, it will deal less damage overall, mitigating its threat level. I say appropriate because some Pokemon like Conkeldurr has Giga Chad energy and will clap your cheeks with such force that not even Arceus will save you. A Pokemon who is a special attacker can be paralyzed or poisoned instead, which will aid in defeating it. Another solution is to identify and remove the support, as you have probably seen so far in my episodes. More often than not, if there is a Dynamax Mon, and sure it may look threatening, but if you identify what is supporting the Dynamax Mon, the threat level goes down very quickly. Which, to put it another way, most Dynamax Mon are threatening because their allies make them threatening. If you remove the support, the opponent will be forced to adjust. And nothing is quite as funny as seeing a Groudon not have any form of support backing it up. The next solution is to remove the item or ability. Most Dynamax strategies are tied to their ability or item. This works in tandem with the Dynamax Pokemon's allies. Besides removing the allies, moving the item or ability will also reduce their threat. Really, the choice is yours. And that's all. Now you know about Dynamax. If you like my content and want to see more like this, leave a like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. This encourages me to make more content to share with you all. I'll see you all in the next episode.
Excuse my manners. Don't touch that dial.
Hey, Dad.
Lordy!
Bitch slapped! I'm fast as fuck, boy.
Watch me eat.
And that's the end of Season 1. Our next episode will start our second season and the beginning of more content besides our learning series. This also means that my uploads will be more consistent, as there is, in my opinion, more I can do outside of the battle simulator. Stay tuned, as there is a lot to look forward to in our second season, and again, thank you for your support.